Is Bring a Trailer a good place to buy a classic Mercedes or not? Bring a Trailer has now sold thousands of cars, hundreds of classic Mercedes, and is basically the byword in buying a classic car. Bring a Trailer has managed to outperform many major auction houses in the mid-range market, and they have created a niche market where other companies have decided that they were going to create their own automotive auctions, such as Second Car and Hemmings. But there is a dark underbelly to Bring a Trailer, which we are starting to see come up more and more, and this is the notion that Bring a Trailer is actually a place where people offload their junk. Now, one of my subscribers and I have been exchanging some information about purchasing a certain type of Mercedes with a small displacement, high-powered engine. And one of these cars went up for sale on Bring a Trailer recently. And the thing is that when you're a seller on Bring a Trailer, you can say anything you want about your car. You can say, I've rebuilt the engine. I've rebuilt the front suspension. In this case, the car had its rear SLS deleted. And, which is fine, I guess, if you don't care about that stuff. But at the end of the day, there were a lot of things that also were not answered or discussed, like the quintessential example with this specific car. Air conditioning does not work. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean the Tempmatic climate control is defective? Or does it mean that the car's AC compressor is seized, or does it mean that there's an evaporator leak? What are we talking about exactly? The crux of Bring a Trailer is this, and this is the value proposition. Number one, if a car is on Bring a Trailer, it's for sale, which means the person is either trying to flip it or doesn't want it anymore. Usually when you're dealing with a car that has had a lot of money put into it, but is being sold below market, it means that the person or their mechanic cannot sort the problems out, and they're trying to offload the vehicle because they're just sick of putting dollars and hours into the car. And in this specific case, that's what I think too. Now, another situation that persists with Bring a Trailer is the I spent thousands of dollars on this car scenario. Now, this is a conversation I had with another subscriber who was looking at a Mercedes station wagon that was on BAT. And in this specific instance, the car was purported to have $25,000 spent on it, and it was a W124. And the question is, what do you spend $25,000 on in a 124? Well, if I had a 124 that I spent that much money on, it would have certainly received a head gasket if it was a 6-cylinder car, and a valve job, a transmission rebuild, an evaporator, all the dash actuators. Any interior and headliner issues would have had to have been resolved. And the car probably would have been painted too, or close to it. But in this case, the car actually just had various and sundry maintenance done, like it had a front suspension rebuild. But nobody listed all the specific parts that were installed. The car had the front timing cover on the cylinder head resealed. Okay, big deal. What's that? $13 in parts. You know, if you get a valve cover gasket, $26 in parts. The car had all of its fluid services up to date. Well, you know, that's $800 at Pierre Hedary's or less. And the front wheel bearings were done. Wheel bearing kits are like $60. Well, then you read on and you find out the car was in New York City. And servicing a car in New York City is really expensive. It's just like, you know, the cost of getting a man to the moon. It's just stupid money. There's no way around it. And so the $25,000 in New York money translates to about $5,000 in Florida dollars. That's right. The cost of servicing a car in Manhattan is 500% higher, you know, because there's just no space and no time to do anything right. It just doesn't work out well. So then there's a third scenario with Bring a Trailer cars, and that's where the seller basically obfuscates or excludes information that would make the person see the car that they're looking at in a negative light and just focus on the positives. So we could say something like 2 little rust spots, but car's paint is otherwise excellent. Car's leather is slightly tired, but dashboard has no cracks. Car's suspension is slightly soft, But look at these great pictures of all of the new hose clamps I put on this car. This is where you downplay the major issues and then you upplay all the stuff that you did that you think is a big deal. Of course, we see cars like this all the time where people act like changing shifter bushings or changing a tie rod is moving the ocean. It's not like somebody took a car and said, okay, let's look at a car that we're not an exemplary car here, like a 300 SEL 6.3. Somebody will have a car up there and they'll say, we changed the front airbags, which isn't that hard. Sorry if you think it is. We put on tie rods, we changed shifter bushings, we flushed the coolant and changed all the fluids. We put brand new iridium spark plugs in it. It has an electronic ignition and a brand new battery and brand new tires and brand new exhaust hangers. And it's also got two brand new